Welcome to this week's episode of Eye of the Swarm, your somewhat deep dive into anything and everything related to Yellowjacket athletics.
Somewhat. I thought
It all depends on the week.
I suppose.
He's the Big Sound Matt Johnson. I am Jon Garver, Season 6, Episode number 2, and I look at the calendar, and it is officially fall.
It is.
So it's okay for us to be playing fall sports now.
It is, and we're playing a lot of fall sports at the moment.
We are.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's been a really a busy start.
Well, fall is always our busiest season in terms of teams in action. It actually gets less and less as the years goes on.
Yeah, it does. It does. With tennis playing more now in the fall than they had in the past, it makes for some pretty busy stretches.
It does. It makes for a lot of busy weekends, but as usual, teams are performing at a very high level right now. So we're happy with where we're at, I think, across the board in terms of the teams and their performances. Last weekend was very busy, of course, as usual. That's tennis has pulled back a little bit in terms of their scheduling from last year, not in previous years, but they pulled back a little bit, especially on the men's side in terms of getting ready for their primary season, which is in the spring. So they've got some time yet, but. Just about everybody was in action, I think, last weekend, except for men's tennis. I think everybody else just about was competing in some event. So it was busy. It was busy again, but it was another pretty good weekend, all things considered, for UWS, and a pretty good week as well.
Before we look back on any of that, we're a couple weeks into the Yellowjacket TV era, and you've had the chance to do a number of contests on the new network. So what are some of your early thoughts from behind the scenes a little bit?
I think it's been, and I hope that the viewers agree. I think it's been a pretty smooth transition for the most part. I mean, there are things that we need to iron out. Yeah, sure. But for a first-time venture, I think it's been pretty good. We have the advantage of having a really, really, really good team in place already.
Right.
We were not starting this out as true rookies in that regard. We have a really, really strong production team behind the scenes that does a lot of work and knows how to get this done. So we're lucky in that regard. I don't know how the other schools have approached it. Some of them I don't think have changed at all. Like I don't think Northwestern has changed their approach really at all. But I think that for us it's been a smooth transition. It's tough when you have a partner like we had with iFan for all those years where they come in, they do it, and then I would step in and do the games for them, but
it's just something you wouldn't even think about.
Yeah, exactly. You just didn't even think about having to do it yourselves, and now we're doing it all in house, which is a challenge because it requires more money, more funding, more staff members, some pretty substantial investments in terms of dollar signs and just how intricate you want to make the broadcast be, but I think they've been pretty good, and certainly the foundation's being laid for potentially stepping up and doing more things in the future with it. So I think right now the transition's pretty good. I don't know what your thoughts are, John, because you've been on the mic for a couple of things, but
I'd be lying if I said I watched a lot of it because it seems like I'm always doing something else.
Right.
Selling tickets, chasing soccer balls across the field,
right? Or doing something else,
announcing, whatever the case may be. So I haven't had an opportunity to check in, but from the little bits and pieces I have been able to look at, it's been a great product so far.
Yeah, it's been very good.
And it's only going to get better as we continue to get more comfortable with everything too.
Yeah, exactly. We'll start expanding a little bit on it as we go, and but I think that overall, I think the production quality's been good, and I the biggest thing that I've noticed. Is that the picture is really, really sharp.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most important part of the entire thing. I mean, we can talk about graphics and score bugs and clocks and camera angles and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the thing that's been the most, I think, impressive about all of it has been just how clear and crisp the images have been. And that's really what I think viewers are looking for now. So it's been good. I think it's been really good in that regard. And thankfully, like I said, we have a great production team behind the scenes that helps a ton. Makes it look good, makes it sound good, and I couldn't be happier with how we've started out. I was very confident going in though, knowing who we had that was going to be working behind the scenes, so I wasn't really nervous about it at all. I know you were a little bit just because it's a new venture.
Yeah, there's some trepidation there because, like I said, it's something we really didn't have to think about for 20 years.
Right, yeah.
You know, you made reference to other schools maybe not changing how they do business. Well, they didn't have to.
Yeah.
They'd already been in the streaming game.
Right.
And for us, this is kind of our first foray into that. So,
right. Yep.
You know, you go from not having to even think about it for 20 years and, well, the stream is down during a game, and that was never for us to figure out or, you know.
Right, yeah.
We just, well, they're working on it. And, you know, now you're responsible for every piece of that. So
right,
there's a little bit of trepidation there.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we've been trying to figure out, you know, different ways of delivering the broadcasts in a way that make them look good, make them sound good. You know, we've also got the added challenge of trying to figure out how we're going to work that at the stadium. You know, that's another thing that we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, so far, you know, we've had a production team that's done a really good job of being able to not only stream, you know, just straight up, you know, just audio and visual stream. We've also been able to pretty effectively tie it into the radio so far.
Yep.
And we haven't really had any problems there so far, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I know that they've done some things over the last couple of weeks up there at the radio station, so hopefully that will
and
that will further enhance all of this as we glue it all together. And
and we're I mean, it's an active collaboration now between Yellowjacket TV and 91.3 FM. So when we're on the radio, so both sides are trying to work with each other here on this deal. And in the radio games I've done so far, that's where my biggest concerns lie. It's been pretty good so far.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't really had any issues on the radio broadcasts I've done thus far. So, you know, hopefully we'll test that again this week.
Yep.
With a different delivery mechanism this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into the details of the technology differences of what we'll be doing this week versus what we've done in the past.
Right.
In terms of hookups, but you know, we have a couple of joint broadcasts this week on Friday and Saturday, so hopefully those go well.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. And onward and upward, but I think it's been good.
Good.
I think it's been good.
Excellent. Yep. So, been a busy couple weeks, as you mentioned, and somehow we've been relatively unscathed here. Like, all these games are on the road, it seems.
Yeah, yeah. We
and I think this is our payback for late August, early September, when everything was on campus.
Yeah. We've had a few weeks.
It's been a little light here.
Yeah, it's been a little light. We haven't had as many home events, which is okay.
I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, you're totally fine with it. I know. We don't mind having home events. Let's clarify.
No,
we just don't like having them all at the same time.
We got beat up so bad that first week of school that it's like, okay.
Yeah, we just don't like having them all. We've earned
a couple weeks off here.
You know, recapping though what's happened, we'll start with men's and women's soccer. Both teams are in the throes now of the UMAC schedule. Both teams are undefeated. And UMAC play through 3 games. Not surprising, I don't think, for anybody, really. Both teams have been pretty dominant so far in their respective UMAC conference games. Both teams had really, really rugged non-conference schedules, so that was a big part of the reason.
That's the table setter, I guess.
Yeah. I
mean, you're playing the level of competition they were out of conference.
Yeah. I mean, that's getting yourself ready for not just the UMAC, but also potential NCAA tournament bids. That was the entire point of those schedules. But you know, the teams look good so far. I mean, women's soccer has been in control of each of their 3 matches basically from the start.
Yep.
Including a win at Northwestern, a place that they lost last year. So, granted, that Northwestern team was a little bit shorthanded. They were missing a couple of key players for sure on that team. But Yellowjackets went in there and took care of business. They took control of that game pretty early. So, took care of business there. Obviously, were very dominant in wins over Minnesota Morris and also North Central as well in their first 2. And the same story with the men. I mean, the men only defeated Northwestern 1-0 on a penalty kick, but they were in control of that match.
You look at the numbers.
Yeah, they were in full control. They just didn't find the goals.
Yep.
In that match as much as I think Coach Mooney would have liked to have seen. But men now so far through their first 3 games, 15 goals for, none against. And the women so far have scored 16 goals. Yep, 16 goals and given up 2 through their first 3 matches. So, I mean, all onwards and upwards for men's and women's soccer. So they're moving right along. They got big games on Saturday this week against Bentley Lutheran. But they've come through those unscathed. They're going to be in really good shape.
Yep.
Volleyball started out, had a good non-conference portion of the schedule at 10-5. Started out with a match against Northland this week. Defeated them in 3 sets.
It was a snappy 3 sets.
Yeah, an hour and about 8 minutes.
Yeah, it didn't take too long.
You know, and they won comfortably in each of those.
Mm-hmm.
Northland's a team that's struggling.
They're in transition.
Yeah, they're in transition for sure. But Coach Lynn Diedrich was able to get basically every player into the game, into the match at some point that was available. So that was big.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. And like I said, it was a snappy hour and 8 minutes to defeat Northland. They have 2 big matches this week. They play Crown on Friday night as we record this on a Thursday, and then they play Minnesota Morris, which will be a big match on Saturday.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. That's one of those that'll give you it shows you where you stack up within the conference a little bit.
Yep. Morris has been on again, off again this year.
It can give you a little bit of an indication of where you might be sitting come postseason time.
Yep. But right now the Yellowjackets, as we record this, 11-5 in volleyball and 1-0 in the league. Playing Crown, like I said, on Friday. That'll be a joint broadcast with Yellowjacket TV and 91.3 FM. Again, going back to what we were talking about, as well the match against Morris the following day. So
T-shirt giveaway on Friday.
Yep. So those will be well attended, we hope.
And then Saturday, Youth Day.
Youth Day. Yep. So it'll be big there. Men's and women's golf also in action. They were at the Midwest Regional. That's hosted by Benedictine. This year it was actually hosted in Kenosha, which is a bit of a hike from the Benedictine campus, but that's because of the amount of teams that are there. And both teams competed there, and both teams leading into the UMAX now, which will be coming up in a couple weeks.
Next week already.
Yeah. The Twin Cities Classic is up next for the men. That's a 3-day event at 3 different golf courses in the Twin Cities. Technically, Gustavus is the host. Yeah, but you're kind of traveling all over. And I know it's an event that Coach Paul Eberhardt and the guys really like because you get to play 3 different courses.
Right.
And the women have 2.
And they're 3 very different courses,
Yeah,
too.
exactly. And I think that's on purpose. I think Gustavus picked it that way because they wanted it to be that way. So that's, they want 3 different looks. It's good for their team, and it's good for our team, too, especially going to the UMAX in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
The women will be in action both in Martin Luther and at Bethany Lutheran before the UMAX. So they've got 2 events this weekend as well, both 1-day events, while the men have a 3-day event. So that's what's stacking up for them. Cross country, both teams were at the St. Olaf Invitational, which is a huge event. There is upwards of 20 teams on each side that are there. I haven't been to St. Olaf grad myself. I remember hosting that event.
A lot of athletes.
Yeah, and it's St. Olaf's campus is uniquely positioned to be able to handle an event like that because of the open space, and they have a beautiful cross country course there on campus that you can just run. They don't even have to use a golf course, but it's a big event. Yeah, it's a big event, and the Yellowjackets actually showed really well while they were there. Both teams finished in 11th place amongst D3 schools. There were a couple of Canadian schools that made the trip down.
Yep.
But they would be considered borderline Division I, Division II, I think, the Canadian teams that came down. And then there were a bunch of MIAC schools there as well. So the Yellowjackets actually showed really well. They placed the highest amongst the UMAC teams that were there by quite a bit, actually, both teams did. So both teams looked pretty good in that regard. And then you've got, women's tennis was at the ITA regionals. Hosted all over the place, apparently in St. Peter. There's a lot of different venues that have to go into that event.
Well, it depends what event you're in, because if you're in the ITA, you're on Gustavus's campus.
Okay.
And if you're in the other event, you play in different venues.
Okay.
And so it's a huge weekend.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that come into that. Not necessarily full teams all the time.
No, it's individuals
It's individuals in a lot of cases, but there are a lot.
There are a lot of tennis players.
There's a lot of tennis players there.
Yeah.
And they do 2 weeks in a row because they host the women one weekend, then they have the men the next weekend.
Yep. And on the women's side, there's some nice results as well on the women's side. I think that was the case last year as well.
Yep.
The regionals, technically they don't count towards any actual records or results, but it's a really good opportunity for them to play against different competitions, see different players, and kind of test themselves out. And I know that's why CJ likes it.
No, he absolutely does. And we don't talk a lot about exhibitions and everything, but they played UMD in an exhibition match.
Yeah, and played
last week and had a really good showing.
Yeah, it was 7-5. UMD came from behind actually to win.
But when you score it the way that they did and count everything, UMD won that 7-5. If you use the new ITA NCAA scoring that the teams will be using during the regular season this year, Superior won this.
Okay, yeah. So
they would have won. So it's...
Well, they've had an exhibition also against Winona State, which they didn't keep score really, but so that and a win over River Falls. So he's ramping it up a little bit. The women are going to be very strong.
They're going to be really strong.
Yeah, they're going to be a very strong team again. The men expected to be strong. They've been strong for a long time, but the women now are getting up there as well. So,
right.
It's been a busy time on campus for sure. But again, it's crazy to think when you look at everything that the UMAC championships for golf are starting
next week.
Yeah. Up at Pebble Creek, and the men will be favored.
Yep.
Going in,
I would imagine.
Yeah, and then. we'll see the women finish third in the preview, so we'll see, if they can improve on that at all. But it's crazy. We're already coming into handing out some conference hardware for the first time.
It's crazy. It's crazy to me. And golf is always that odd season because they basically are gone the entire month of September. Yeah. And playing what seems like every single day.
Right. Yeah.
And then 6 weeks. Your season is basically done.
It just condenses down. They play a lot.
And then you sit out for 7 months.
Yeah,
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky,
and you're going to the national tournament after.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing. We've talked about it with Paul Eberhardt before, but we've had him on the show. But yeah, it's it's a very unique schedule. Put it that way. Not unlike what the CJ deals with in tennis.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, ITA regionals also, by the way, this weekend for the men.
Yep.
So that was where I was going with that. The women had theirs last weekend, and the men will participate this weekend. So that's the week that was, and things coming up here. It's going to be an interesting another couple weeks here, and hopefully we'll have some conference hardware to talk about.
Yeah, I think hopefully we do.
Yeah,
hopefully we do, and then I'll just lead into a few weeks after that more conference tournaments and playoffs and championships and everything.
Although volleyball and soccer got pushed back an extra week this year.
Yes, they did. So you're into November now for those ones.
Yeah, exactly. So
I don't even want to look at that schedule yet.
Trying to figure all that out. Yes, we still got some time to.
That weekend's going to be a killer.
Yeah,
that's going to be a killer.
Time to push that back a little.
Yeah, we got not too much though.
Yeah, no, not a whole lot.
Not too much.
Yeah. So,
but at any rate,
that's the week that was, and the week coming up, and it should be good.
We're going to take a quick time out, and when we come back, I'm excited about it.
I'm thrilled about it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's always fun when we get a pair of athletes on, and it just so happens that we have two of the, if not the most dynamic offensive players in women's soccer history that are going to be sitting in these two chairs with us. We'll have Nia Wilson, we'll have Maya Holmquist, and we can talk a little bit about their careers and their seasons because two pretty special players there.
Yeah. I mean, they're over 120 goals combined between the two of them, and still plenty of soccer left to be played. So I would imagine they'll be pushing in the 130, maybe even 140 range before it's all said and done this year. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick time out, and when we come back, it'll be the Maya and Nia show. You are watching Eye of the Swarm.
Find your passion. Find your people. Find your purpose. Find your superior.
We're back on the roundtable segment of this edition of Eye of the Swarm, and I got to admit, Matt, I'm fired up about this one.
Me too.
And more than once, I have made reference to the Maya and Nia show.
Yep.
Or the Nia and Maya show, however you want to do it. I think I actually wrote about it in a recap one time.
Yep.
Or two. So I made reference to this more than once, and now the Maya and Nia show is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
So I did some research.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you two as well.
Oh, boy.
How many times do you think Maya Holmquist, Nia Wilson have scored a goal in the same match?
In the same match?
Yep.
I don't know a lot.
Tick, 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 tick.
Is this like Jeopardy?
You two should be thinking too.
I am.
Okay.
I'm going to go over under. I'm going to say in their entire careers, I'm going to say between 40 and 50 matches.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I think I'd ballpark it around 30 and 40.
Well, I was going to shoot lower. I was going to say like 25. But
Okay.
How many is it?
Let me ask the question again. How many times have they scored in the same match? That is the question. I'm giving you a chance to rethink this. I know math is hard, numbers are hard. I get it.
Well, I'm trying to okay.
I cheated because I did the research, so.
All right. I will revise it down and say 30.
Okay.
I'll go 28.
I'm sticking with 25.
19.
19.
Okay.
19 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
19 times.
Well, because I know how many
They've
goals they've
scored in the
combined
same
for in their careers.
Yes, I know that as well.
Yes.
In those 19 matches, how many goals have these two scored?
Oh, my gosh, you're making it harder for me now.
Just in those 19.
Just in those 19.
I feel like when we get rolling, we get rolling.
Yeah.
I'm going to say combined. I'll say combined.
You know the minimum is 38.
Yeah.
19 matches, they've each scored. The minimum he can have is 38.
I'm going to say 54.
Okay.
Go 47.
52.
64.
Oh.
64.
64 goals in 19 matches when they score in the same match.
Wow. Well, because I know what the total is for their total
That's
goals.
insane.
Between the two of them, I know what the total goals is.
Do you?
If I could do some mental math.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're both on the cusp of. I think I'm on the cusp of 75. You're
Correct.
on the cusp of 50.
Correct.
So whatever 49 plus 74 equals.
You do the math.
There you go.
There you have it.
123.
123 goals between the two of you. It's a
64 of which have come in 19 matches.
That's crazy.
yeah.
It's insane.
statistic.
Do you remember the first one?
Yes.
Yeah, you better.
Well, I remember her rookie year. She scored 7, I think it was, right? Was
6.
it 6? Was it 6? Okay. And then
Well,
Four in one
when
match.
I scored 4, she scored 4 the next day.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it was. She scored the 1.
right.
She got the 4, and then she scored 1. Then the next day she scored 4.
Okay. Yeah. Because
I think it was probably a player of the week something in there too.
yeah,
But
more than likely.
yeah, it was. I
More
couldn't
likely.
even announce all the goals in that one because every time I started announcing, she scored again 4 times in 15 minutes.
Well, that was like the game against North Central the other day. I was like, he's going to start getting frustrated because he's trying to catch up to the previous goal.
I just kept going. I didn't even stop this time. I just kept going.
Because we've had that happen with Mooney's team too.
Yeah. So
it's
back then
like-
I stopped and I waited so I could announce it again, and then everybody started yelling at me.
Right,
And it's like,
yeah.
it's not her 3rd goal, it's her 4th. I understand that. I have to announce the 3rd first.
Yeah, we have to go in
Chronological
order here. We can't just like skip over. She scored then, and then now she's got a total of 4 in the game. I can't.
But at any rate, we actually have a real bona fide live Maya and Naya show.
We do, and we've talked about it for 4 years, actually. And it's been
So welcome.
yeah. So
thanks.
welcome. We're glad that you guys are here.
Glad to be here.
I can't think of a tandem in any sport that I've ever seen at the college level that has been more prolific than you two have in terms of goals being scored. And it's been a partnership that John and I have watched now for, like I said, 4 years, 4.5 in Naya's case. But it's sort of a, I don't know, it's hard to put it into words, right? Because every time you guys score, you add to your own record, your own combined record of goals. And we've never had 2 players in either soccer program together at the same time that have poured in this many. And you guys the chemistry just is incredible. Like, I don't know how else to put it. And it does seem like you guys don't really mind who gets the goal as long as it's scored. That's been kind of the interesting part, of this whole thing. For me, being the voice of you guys' team, it's been just a joy to watch the partnership kind of blossom into what it's become. But this is going to sound like a really, really basic question because I know, so Naya had a big year your freshman year, Maya, and you were sort of getting your feet wet at the college game. And then the second year, you guys really clicked. And it was like, did you guys in that second year, did you really figure out, was there something that clicked for you guys in that second year? Or was it something that you guys knew was coming even in the first year Maya was on campus? Naya, you were a sophomore academically by then, but
Yeah.
was there a moment where it just kind of clicked for you guys, or was it just sort of a gradual thing where you guys kind of built this kind of relationship on the field, like organically?
I feel like it was a gradual thing for a while, I would say. I think freshman year we started to understand that we fit together good up top. We're both very central players, so playing in a 3-5-2 meant that it played into both of our strengths. So I think once we started to figure that out and figure out just a little bit more about each other and what we were going to do on the field, I think it came super quick. I think we knew going into my junior year.
Yeah.
My junior year, I think we knew it was going to be something special, but I don't think we could have ever predicted
Yeah.
where we're at now.
Well, I think also the thing for me that really stood out, and knowing that we had 2 true bona fide scorers up top, because Naya unfortunately got banged up in your I think your junior year.
Junior year,
Yeah,
yeah.
junior year. And Maya kind of became the prime target, and they didn't skip a beat.
Right.
I mean, she's ended up with 21 goals and 13 assists. She led the league in scoring, and I thought, okay, when Naya comes back, this is now we're going to see a
Something's
lot
gonna happen.
Yeah, something's going to happen here. And I mean, that year was kind of a breakout year for Maya. Was there something that about that year that was special for you in terms of just being able to break out, or was it just kind of in the flow of everything?
I feel like it was just like with Anna Schuchman graduating, like Allison told me, like, this is going to be your role now. You're going to be up top with Naya. And I don't know, I feel like it's just something that I stepped into and it came naturally.
No kidding.
Well, the other thing is that you guys pile up a lot of assists. And that's the other thing, that it's not just the fact that one of you is a finisher and the other one is an assister. You both score goals and you both get a lot of assists. So that really speaks to, again, the chemistry on the field more than anything else, and the partnership up top, because it's one thing to have a player who scores tons of goals, because there are plenty of soccer teams that have that. Mm-hmm. But you need to have also kind of a partnership up top and somebody who feeds the ball to that person. You guys seem to just feed it to each other no matter what, you know, and you both have your strengths, which is interesting because they complement each other quite a bit on the field. And that's been one of the, you know, Maya's one of the best players in the era that we've had here. She might be the best.
The best.
Yeah.
She's the best.
You know, and, you know, Naya, just your positioning is always amazing to me. Like, you're always in the right spot at the right time, and starting the play. And you're really good with your back to goal. But those skill sets complement each other really well on this team. And it's just been fun to watch.
It's been fun to play.
I bet, yeah. Yeah.
Lots of hugs.
Yeah, lots of hugs, lots of goals.
Yeah.
Lots of photos of you guys celebrating.
Yeah. Holden says we should diversify our Selly package because we always just run at each other and hug. It's a whole lot of hugs, but
yeah. Well, I mean,
we're working on it.
Yeah, exactly. When you score as many goals as you guys do, I suppose I can see why. But.
What do you do with that? I mean,
well, Naya's pretty creative.
I know. I mean, so what do you do? Or do you just let something happen spontaneously, or do you go NFL on this thing and we practice this and we come up with something really good? I mean, what?
I'd say when there is one, we talk about it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Naya seems to have a plan. That's one thing. Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, and sometimes people don't commit to the plan. Maya always does, but sometimes I'm like, let's do this, and I run to the camera and I look around me and I'm like, that's awesome, no one's here. I'm like, so what now? But,
well, it's funny because, you know, like I said, I mean, you've tried out a lot of different ones. Maya, I think when you score, it's always like, you're always like, yay, like, you know, like, we scored, yay. Like, it's just very, like, I don't know, it's hard for me to put it into words. The personalities are also a bit different, which is what makes it, I think, even more fun, is the fact that you guys have different approaches to the game sort of mentally, but your results stay remarkably the same. You know, so that's been fun for, you know, me to watch. I mean, the relationship on the team is quite good. You know, the chemistry on the team is pretty good. You guys have got so many upperclassmen. You guys have played together what seems like forever. I'm sure the rest of the league is sick of seeing you guys. But, you know, you know, that's what makes it special, though, too, I think, at the same time. And you guys' class, I mean, is going to go down as the best class in UWS women's soccer history.
Hands down.
Yeah, hands down.
Hands
down. You know, I mean, I guess I want to take the focus away from what your careers have done. This year, it's been a little different for you guys because you've played a much, much tougher schedule. I think this is probably the toughest schedule.
This is the most rugged non-conference schedule we've ever seen.
Yeah, and in school history. And you guys have come out of it pretty darn well. I mean, you guys played some really close games that could have gone either way. You know, lost a couple of them by 1 goal, had a really nice win against River Falls, beat Glasgow again, which is, I know, something that is important for you guys.
It's important for all of us.
yes, it's very important.
I know it's a focus for you guys. But I feel like this team is more ready than ever for the UMAC this year and more ready than ever for a potential postseason run. How have you guys kind of navigated this tough start to the year? Because you guys have played a really tough schedule thus far this season.
Yeah, I think going in, we knew it was going to be tough. So just realizing that the results aren't defining the progress that we're making, I would say. Yeah. I think it was good, though, to be able to see not only the score lines, but if you go into the box score and look at the shots and the things like that, we produced what we never have before. Like last year, we would put up closer score lines. I mean, like you look at lacrosse in the national tournament, 1-0, but then you look at the box score and you're like, well,
0 shots.
Yeah.
Whereas this year, I mean, we were up on Platteville, who plays second in the WIAC.
Yep.
Is that correct?
They're undefeated right now still.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it's just cool to see the progress and to dig a little deeper into that as far as stats go, to understand that we've made so much progress, and even if the score doesn't reflect that.
We talked about it, though, after the season opener against lacrosse. Yeah, it was a 5-0.
It was a deceiving 5-0, though.
But statistically, the 5-0 was a better game than the 1-0 in the NCAA tournament
absolutely.
last year.
One of the
And
things
I think people will look at it and go, "Oh God, they got pummeled."
It felt better.
It looked better.
Yeah,
it was just a better match.
I think one of the things that's been encouraging for me is that you guys have gone toe to toe with everybody you've played, basically. I think there was one rough half against Concordia, but the second half was
had to bring it up, didn't you?
Well,
look, did you see that?
But when you're playing teams like that, you're going to have a half where you just didn't go well. Yeah. But even the second half, you guys responded very well in that game and really outplayed them pretty considerably in that second half. Went toe-to-toe with La Crosse, which is the top 10 team. Went toe-to-toe with Platteville, had a really good chance to win that game. Did beat River Falls, did beat Scholastica, and then you went toe-to-toe with the Gustavus and lost by 1. So, these are not teams that are just layovers either. You're not playing teams that are lower half of their league even. You're playing teams that are expected to win their respective leagues or at least compete for an NCAA tournament bid. So that's been something that we haven't seen before. And I talked to Brenda Matson about this, and I said, boy, you guys have got a really rugged non-conference schedule this year. And she's like, yeah, but that's what we wanted. We really did. We went to Allison and said, this is the year. This is the year where we got to really push ourselves and see what we can do. And so far, so good, because it's paid off big time, I think, so far. I mean, just based on the way – because you guys, I think in the first – you've played 3 UMAC games now. You guys are playing at a level that's a step above these other teams, at least to this point. Mm-hmm. And, these other teams don't schedule like you guys do. So that makes it, but that's why you do it, right? Like that's why, you end up playing the Plattevilles and you end up playing the Gustavuses and the River Falls and and Scholastica obviously is always going to be on the schedule probably. But then you turn around and you guys go down and say, we want to play La Crosse again. That's something that a lot of schools won't do, even when they're trying to make that step up, because we don't want to play a top 10 team. They're going to beat us. Well, that's not really the point, though. Right. We're just going to play our game and see how far we can go and see what we can challenge ourselves. And you guys created some really good scoring chances against La Crosse. Mm-hmm. So, it's a shift, because we've seen the schedules get progressively tougher, but this year it's been really tough. Yeah. And you guys still got a couple more non-conference games to go with the conference. I mean, you've got McAllister coming up and you've got St. Olaf. Those are both going to be really tough games. Mm-hmm. So, I know you guys have a vision for where you want to go. It's hard to put it into words because you guys have been the favorite now for 4 straight years.
Yeah, you've been wearing the target.
Yeah, I mean, for a while.
Keeps getting bigger.
Let's talk about that, because that's a good segue. Mm-hmm. How do you guys feel about having that target on your back all the time when you're playing in the league? Because, I mean, it has been something now that at first it was like, well, this is the first time we've done this. This is pretty cool. Then the second year you do it again. Third year you do it again. And now you made an interesting point. The target keeps getting bigger and bigger. How do you feel like you guys are wearing that? Because it feels like you guys are wearing it just fine, but it's kind of a progression, isn't it? Like trying to go from okay, we have a target on our back, now it's getting bigger and bigger because we keep winning every year. That's a pretty heavy burden sometimes. I don't know if people understand that.
Yeah. Allison always says to us, we don't have, we're not holding on to anything, we're still chasing. And I think that changes our mentality towards, we don't have anything. We won it last year, but we don't have anything this year. We still have something to chase.
Yeah, there's not a trophy to protect yet.
Right, yeah.
Keyword yet.
Well, I know obviously we know what you guys are shooting for, but
right.
It does. I mean, it does put pressure on when you've been winning, and it's for both the men and the women now. It's become almost a yearly tradition and an expectation that the teams are going to be right there and win at the end. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was interesting the way you put it, Nia, that the target does get bigger.
Yeah. We almost got in semifinals last year. That was, yeah. Me and Maya looked at each other. There was 14 minutes left. We're like, is this real?
What are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
Yeah, that was a game I was getting nervous about.
Yeah,
we all were.
Yeah, I was nervous about that one, and then you guys scored twice in a minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden everything changed.
Well, that was the okay.
Yeah,
they were just messing with them.
Yeah, exactly. We're just playing around.
Cat and mouse,
But one of the things that was really cool about going back to that game, though, and the fact that I was like, okay, this one almost got. Almost got by Crown in that game, and I was like, okay, now they got Northwestern again. Northwestern's already beaten them once this year, and I thought.
Had to bring that up, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, no, but this is leading to a point though that I.
Lots of these looks over here.
This brings me to a point, though, that I want to make, is that when I saw you guys warming up for the game against Northwestern in the title game, I knew there was not going to be a problem, honestly, about being ready and being more focused and ready to go. I thought, no, they're good to go. And then the first 10 minutes of the game, the way you guys played, I was like, we're in good shape. We're going to be just fine. And it's that mindset you guys, but that takes that maturity, right? Where you go from the semifinal game against Crown, where you're out shooting like 26-2 or whatever it was, and
trailing.
Yeah, and you're trailing, and then you get to Northwestern, a team that is going to feel confident going in because they just pummeled Bethany Lutheran in their game, in their semifinal that day. And you guys just came out and took charge of the game right away. That's that maturity, though, is what I'm talking about. And that's, when you are a favorite, but you also know inside, no matter how much pressure there is, that you guys are more than up to it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also a trust thing. Like, I don't know. I just always trust that we've been playing together for so long, like all of us. And come championship day, I was like, yeah, there's no way we don't have this in the bag. Like, I trust every single one of my teammates out here. And
well, I can tell just from the energy and warm-ups, and sometimes you can tell just from the one, like they were ready to go, big time. And Northwestern, I think, was a little bit intimidated just by how you guys came out. Because I don't know if they thought they were just going to kind of settle in with you guys, but you guys took it to them almost right from the start. And even though you didn't necessarily score right away, you guys were in control that first half throughout. And so it was like, okay, they scored that first one. That's going to be, I don't want to say a wrap, but it's going to put a lot more pressure on Northwestern, and they're going to have to respond to what we're doing.
Right. And
once you guys scored that second goal, I was like, that's
done.
That's it. Yeah, it's done. And but I mean, that goes back to, like I said, where the target gets bigger and bigger, but you guys are stepping up to it each year. And that takes a fair amount of maturity. John, as a former college athlete, when you have that target on your back, you're expected to be really good every year. And you have a bad game, and you have a game where you don't perform up to where you want to be. You're just like, oh, okay.
I think the dynamics of, since I've been here we've both been here since we first won, but I was here the year before when we got second in the EMAC. And the shift in how, like, other people view us is always very interesting, because at first it's like, oh my God, we're so happy for you, and now they're not. They're like, okay, we're sick of this.
Yeah.
So it's always funny to me. I'm like,
yeah. Well, and the goal is always to push one step forward, like more forward, right? To go one more step, really. But with this year's team, I just want to get back to this year's team a bit, because we haven't really talked about them that much. 5-4 now. You got a big game with Bethany coming up on Saturday. Hopefully the stadium will be ready soon. What's the energy been like with the team this year? You guys seem much, for the first couple of years, it's a lot of, rah-rah stuff where we're winning. This is so cool. You guys seem like a much more settled group this year. You seem like a much more composed group just overall. Like, what you're capable of. It isn't quite so much rah-rah stuff now. How has this year been different from other years for you?
I feel like we're like the deepest team that we've ever had. Like, we have subs come on and the level doesn't change. Like, if anything, it goes up. And I feel like that helps a lot, like getting the results that we want to get.
Yeah, I think also on the culture side of things, I don't know that we've ever had a more cohesive group. There's not a single person that isn't bought in.
No.
And I think that can make me cry in the club here, but makes it extra special for us, knowing that, like, when we go out on the field, like, everyone is bought into what we're doing and what we have built here. So makes us want to play that much harder to keep building, and makes them want to play that much harder to contribute to that build. And I don't know. It's cliche, but it really does feel like something special this year, and
for sure.
It's way different than any other year, I would say.
It's interesting because Allison's told me this is her most coachable team. And she's had a lot of coachable teams. Because you guys trust her, and you trust her judgment. You trust, Nick Piazza's judgment, and Liza when she's here. You trust your coach's judgment, and that's important. That's something you don't see with every program in the world.
Right.
There's a lot of, trust me, there's been a lot of teams that I've covered where there's been a lot of griping by athletes behind the scenes about everything. But, this group, I mean, I'm sure there's some, but there isn't much, on game day. You can tell.
Right.
And that's special, And like I said, Allison, I think she says it pretty much every year, but the teams are getting more and more coachable because, players trust Allison's judgment, and she's almost like a mama bear in a way with her players. It's sort of.
I dare you to call her that.
I don't think she'd like that.
No, but at all. But if you talk to her, if you talk to her like behind the scenes, she'll admit it, like that she's, she's not somebody that she engenders a lot of support from her players and a lot of respect from her players because she genuinely is someone who cares a lot about her players.
For sure.
You know, and
That's the difference.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, and not all coaches are that way, as you know, John.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. She genuinely is someone who will call a team meeting if she feels like something is off or.
she will not hesitate.
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
will talk about our feelings.
Yeah, exactly. But that.
But we're better
Without
because of
failure
it.
every time.
But it works for you guys.
It does.
and it's worked for 4 years. That's and that's her coaching philosophy. She comes from that kind of for me and John, it's almost a new school approach because our coaches, that would never have taken place. It would have been suck it up, buttercup, get to it. But nowadays it's much more of a family atmosphere, and you guys really do seem like you're a family.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody in the family always gets along, and but it does seem like when push comes to shove, you guys have definitely got each other's backs, no matter what.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is a very battle-tested group. It's
Yeah.
a veteran team. You've been together a long time. You both have mentioned it already. Obviously, the day is coming where
Don't even.
you're not going to be
Bring
here.
it up.
You're not going to be here. You've got some youth on this team, and you already mentioned that you sub them in, the level doesn't drop off. How, as a group, is this group of seniors going to make sure that when you're gone, it doesn't fall off? What kind of things are you doing as seniors?
I think we've done a really good job at connecting with like the underclassmen and juniors and just trying to instill confidence in them. I would say they're a great group. It kind of is tough when you come in and it's a core of like 10 or 11 starters and it's just gonna stay that way. But I think they have really found themselves to be empowered and they believe in themselves as a group. And I think that if they know that we believe in them and when they're getting in the games and we're hyping them up and we're like giving them coaching points, things like that, like just them knowing that we have that basis of care and basis of confidence in them, I think that'll make the whole world of difference. I also think that next year the transition it'll be an interesting one just because losing 12 seniors is crazy, but I think letting them know that we can be a touch point for any questions they have, like things like that. I know when Anna Schuschmann's group left and I became a captain as a junior, I had a lot of questions. I was like, hey girl, I don't really know.
Right.
And she was always really good about that, so I think it even goes beyond instilling the confidence now, but also just the basis of our relationship. Like they know they're going to be able to reach out to us and we'll be around supporting them and want nothing but the best, even though we're very sad we're not out there with them anymore.
Well, it's one of the things when Allison recruits now, it's a little bit of a different approach, and I've talked to her a lot about this. When she came in, she was basically selling playing time, right away. Then Naya, your class came in, and that started to change it in a big way. And then, Maya's class came in, and that also changed it in a big way. And now, she's like, it's amazing for her to look at it and say, my recruiting philosophy in my 8 years here has completely flipped. Because now I tell recruits, it's like, it's going to be a tough lineup for you to crack. But your time will come, and you will get playing time if you perform well. Whereas at first it was, I'm going to throw you right into the mix. I mean, that was basically what Naya's class had. It was basically like, that's it. Come in, you're going to start, and you're going to play a lot. It started to shift a little bit with Maya's class, although Maya also became a starter pretty quickly. But then, and the coming years after that, in the years that followed that, it became much more of a, I'm kind of recruiting spots right now, but I also am recruiting players that know that they're not going to see a lot of time right away. And she said, but that's healthy for our program, that they see that. And she said, it's up to me to let them know that their time will come after this group goes through. And that kind of also, I think, in a way, kind of speaks to what you're talking about. It's like, there is going to come a time when we're gone, and you guys are going to have to step up. It's going to be your team. The question is going to be how you're going to make that transition from being a player who comes in off the bench and plays 40 minutes a game to being a starter and playing 75 minutes a game. That's the difference that you're going to have, in terms of the group behind you guys. And I got to say, there are some really good young players on this team.
Yeah,
For sure.
That she's brought in some really good young players. They're going to be really good players, and already are really good players. Not playing as much as probably they want to, but there are definitely a couple of the freshmen are really good players. Neve Larson is a really talented player on the outside. Claire Lurie is going to be a really good player. She already is. So players like that, Julia Lindau, who's also become a real stalwart. So, and Bryn Crystal, who's taken a big step up this year. These are all players who are going to return next year. So there's, it is kind of achieving that balance. I mean, 12 seniors is a lot, but at the same time, I mean, I think you guys are leaving the program in good hands though as well. And it's been kind of a fun thing. I mean, there's 31 players on this roster. So, and
think about that.
Yeah.
Go back 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, that was back, John and I 10, 11 years ago, there were times where women's soccer was trying to pull athletes from other teams so they could fill the roster.
Even my freshman year, there was a time where our roster was, due to injuries and stuff, I think we were sitting at probably 13, 14.
Yeah, you guys were not a big team that year.
No.
You guys, I mean, that was that group. I mean, it was a talented group, but it was a very small group.
It was a thin group.
It was a thin group.
Yep.
There was a lot of good players on that team, but it was,
It was very thin.
it was a very thin, yeah.
Yeah, I broke my hand in the first half of Scholastica my freshman year, and I went up to trainer Sean back then, and I was like, I'm not coming out of the game, so taper up. We're
I remember
finishing this one out.
Yeah, we're finishing this one out. Yeah.
The bench is quite desolate over there. I'm going to stay in.
Yeah, I think there were like 4, maybe 5 subs on that team, I think, total.
And then we got plagued with concussions there for a while. And
And this was sort of something, I mean, like I said, Allison's first year, she was recruiting athletes from other programs to come in and play.
Right.
And now, you're up to 31, and I think that's where Allison would like to keep the roster pretty close.
I don't imagine you'd want to get much bigger.
No, I don't think you want to go Joe Mooney on the thing.
No.
Have like 40 on the roster. But it's like, it's even that transition. John and I have talked about this, because, I mean, we remember when women's soccer was winning 1 game a year. The year before Allison got here, they won 1 game. Then her first year, they won 4. And then it's been pretty much up, like going up ever since. So, but it's remarkable. And, it's kind of a tribute to you two, because you guys have been right in the thick of it, of building the program, not just scoring all these goals. It was 123 goals and counting between the two of you. But those 123 goals have also helped build the program to where it is right now.
Right.
Where we expect NCAA tournaments every year, so it's cool. It's been a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to these last about 6 weeks or so of the season.
Again.
Timeline on
I know, yeah, but this is the way me and John think, though, because we do our seasons in cycles. It's like fall, winter, spring, fall, winter, spring, and then summer. Gets fitted in there, and it feels like it's 2 weeks long.
Right.
So that's but that's the way we look. I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. Is my point. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys can do. John, I don't know, you and I have been here for all of it. So, it's a fun team. I'm really looking forward, like I said, to seeing what you guys can do. It's nice that I can go into a broadcast now knowing that what I'm gonna see in terms of quality, and that I can go into a game now and expect to win.
Yep.
Every time out. And because in the past I didn't have that luxury. When I did a game, it was hopefully we can keep it close.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's been a lot of fun to watch. It's been a lot. John and I have had many talks about it.
We have,
because it's a program. You guys have established a program now, and the building of the program, unlike any other on campus. All of the teams are experiencing, just about all of them are experiencing a high level of success right now. But you guys have literally built it from the ground up. Most of the other teams have been, on again, off again, good at times. Sometimes I've had some down years as well, but you guys have been just on that upward trajectory the entire time, and that's been the coolest part for me. That's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite teams to cover every year. It's because I've been there for the lean times, and now I'm there with the bountiful times, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's especially special for me growing up in Superior. Really crazy fun fact is that I never watched a UWS women's soccer game until I was on the field.
First one she watched, she played in.
Yeah, the first game that she watched was the game she played in.
Yeah. So I think we've also worked very hard to build a better community connection. We've worked really hard to connect with the youth in the area. And I think it's just super cool, like, when I win awards on, like, and it gets posted on Facebook, like, the amount of community members that are, like, liking that, commenting on it, and I don't know. I think not only our whole team bought in, but I think we have a buy-in from the community, which is something that in my 18 years before coming here was never a thing. So I think also that makes the group special, is that we commit to values that are far greater than just on the field, and the lasting legacy is something that we have really, really worked hard on. So
I'm glad you brought that up too, because that's an angle that we haven't really talked about as much, but you guys do a lot of community outreach. And you can tell because there's a lot of youngsters in the stands when you guys play home games. And, you know, you guys are giving them high fives after games and stuff, and they come on the field and they greet you. That's something that really is important, isn't it, in you guys' program?
Yeah, super important. And I think something that this past year, I'm excited for youth night this year. We're about to break some attendance records. Maya and I worked really hard over the summer to put together our first ever youth camp, and I think that was super special. And then I think Brenda Lindry and I all had a part in coaching SSA soccer this past spring. So that's also drawing in a group. So it's been super cool to be role models for those little girls, and I think it just makes it that much more special.
You can see the smiles on their faces when they attend too. You know, they're just super excited to be there, and they're super excited that you guys are accessible, that they can wave at you and they can say, go Naya, or go Maya, or go Lindry, or whomever it is. You know, because they can say, I know that person.
Right.
You know, I've gotten to know them a little bit.
She's my coach.
Yeah, she's my coach. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so that's very, you know, that's really important, especially for a community like Superior.
Right.
That community outreach is huge. And I think that's something that sometimes gets overlooked, is the amount of community outreach that UWS athletes do, specifically women's soccer. But, you know, most of the teams do it.
Yep.
So, you know, that's important in a town like Superior, especially when Naya knows. I mean, she's from here. So she knows how important that is, to make sure that the youth is engaged, and, you know, that people from, you know, the entire soccer community are welcome to come and watch.
That's a good segue too, because community outreach obviously is a very big piece of fundraising. And so your program is trying to raise a whole lot of money right now. Did the seniors get to make the trip?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we sign off here, let's talk a little bit about that. And if anybody's got money burning a hole in your pocket, you know where to find Naya.
This is a cool idea, by the way.
Yes.
This is
so
very cool.
Let's talk a little bit about the trip that you are fundraising for. Sales pitch time.
Sales pitch time. All right, so Allison's gonna love this.
Business degree is coming.
Yeah, business degree. We bugged her for years, because when I came on my visit, she talked about how there was a trip every 4 years, and then somehow those 4 years flew by, and I'm like, so hey girl, where is it? I'm gonna stick around for a 5th one. So
I'm not leaving until I get my trip.
I want my trip.
Are we gonna plan this trip together, or what's going on here? But eventually it became like, don't bring that up, we're not doing that. And then one day she came into a meeting with a little glimmer in her eye, and she's like, guys, we're going international. And then she said the dates, and it was this coming January, and I think some of us in the room were looking around, we're like, so
does that include us?
Yeah. But yeah, it's super cool. I think it's 9 nights, 10 days in Costa Rica. We get to play 2 games, connect with some local youth there, and then we also get to go to a Blue Zone, which is
that's very cool, by the way.
Very
the Blue
cool.
Zone idea.
Yeah, it's where the average lifespan is longer, and so we will get to study the ways in which they prioritize mental and physical well-being in order to translate that to our lives. And then also I think we get to go like whitewater rafting. Yeah. We're going on a bioluminescent kayak tour.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and I think for our group it's something really special to be able to cap off what our time has meant to us here, and I don't know, teary-eyed again.
Well, I mean,
you're doing a good job keeping it together.
Yeah.
I actually talked to Allison about this a little bit, and she's like, you know, it's going to be a full immersive trip for us. It's not just going to be about soccer, and it's not just going to be about like school. It's going to be all of the above. It's really going to be one of those experiences that kind of defines Division III athletics as a student athlete, because, you know, the emphasis is on the student and the athlete. It's a student athlete. emphasis in Division III, and this is truly going to be like an experience for you guys that is going to be really unique.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know of another team that has done something like this. I don't think, not on our campus. I don't think. But when Allison told me about this, I was like, that sounds so cool.
Yeah.
You know, I would have loved to have had that kind of experience in college, to, you know, be able to go with 20, 25, maybe 30 of my best friends and go and, you know, experience a whole different culture and a whole different kind of way, you know, of viewing the world, go see a blue zone, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, that's really cool. Did you guys lobby for Costa Rica, or was this something that you came up with kind of on her own?
I think it was kind of on our own.
I think it was through the study abroad across campus.
Yep. Yeah.
They have an established
relationship. Okay.
Yeah, so just happened to work out. I think we just bugged her enough that it was in the back of her head and in front of her head and the side of her head.
Off my back.
Yeah,
she's like, you
exactly.
just graduate already. Just leave me alone.
Remember last year during the fundraiser, John said to me, he said, "This is so cool." He said, "I kind of want to stow away with them. I kind of want to throw me in the luggage bin, and I'll go to."
I can ride in a cargo hold. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't mind. The 6-hour flight or whatever it is.
Drill a couple holes in the box, throw some sandwiches in there. I'm good.
Good to
Yeah,
go.
exactly. But when you find something that unique, and that's one of the things that's really cool about you guys. You're such forward thinkers. I think in your program, not just in terms of playing soccer, but also just in your approach to life. That's just such a cool
And
thing.
I think part of that is like Allison allowing us to have that space to be forward thinkers and bring up our own ideas and not have it be like her just telling us what we're doing. We get a big say in everything, so we know that we can bring ideas to the table, which makes it a think tank in a way, which is kind of fun. But yeah, it's been cool and lots of fundraising focus. So.
When are the dates?
January 9th through the 17th.
Okay, great time to not be in Wisconsin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Summer there.
Yeah, it's summer down there, so you're getting away from it. And give.uwsyellowjackets.com is the giving website, so absolutely feel free to log on there, hit the invest button, and make a donation.
And you guys have also got like raffle tickets, right?
Have
that you're
you
selling?
guys bought one? Or?
I have not. I
Do you
will.
wanna buy one? Here we go. There's a sale.
I haven't even been asked.
Well,
Really?
we're
I've seen-
asking you right now.
I've seen you guys going into Allison's office and getting more raffle tickets, which leads me to think that they're being sold pretty
Well,
quickly.
we're doing a second run on them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Yeah.
It's going good.
Yeah. Well, I've got some cash in my pocket that's burning.
Yes, I haven't even been asked.
Love to hear
So
that.
So I will buy a couple raffle tickets. I will make that commitment. But it just sounds like everyone is really excited about it. Just the supporters, the players are really excited about it. Allison's super excited about it. These are the kind of things that enrich the entire student-athlete experience, which I'm glad you guys are also doing, not just, focusing on scoring tons of goals and winning lots of soccer matches, but also, going out and actually experiencing the world outside of your sport and seeing what it's all about. That's so cool. I think this is that's like the coolest idea that I've heard in a long time. It's going to be really cool to see. And I'm going to definitely be catching up with you guys and finding out what your experiences were like, because I want to find out how the trip went for you.
Got to make sure we send a GoPro with them.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, I got nothing else. Do you?
Maya's got class. You talked
I
about
do
student
have
athletes.
class.
She's got class. So,
Okay.
Final thoughts?
Putting student out.
I'm not going to get too sentimental, other than to say that it's been a lot of fun watching you guys. I really enjoy it. I will always hold fond memories of your class in my heart, for sure, no matter how things go. I'm not somebody who's too hung up right now on you guys' wins and losses, as much as it is that I just really love this group of players, because they have helped. Anna Schussman's class came through and kind of set a standard as to where they wanted to go, and this class has taken it and taken it to another level.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun, and like I said, alumni weekends are going to be a lot of fun in a few years.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, but I just congratulations on all your success. I know I haven't really had a chance to tell you two when you've been together that, but the affection is very deep.
Well,
Very
thank you.
deep.
Thank you.
No, it's been a lot of fun watching this group grow the program, and these two in particular.
Yeah, exactly.
Just destroy the opposition.
Yeah, 123 goals plus.
Yeah, and counting.
And counting.
Probably 115 of those ended in hugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, and there'll be more hugs.
So
to
stay
come.
tuned for the new
We'll work on it,
celebration.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, boy, that's some pressure.
Yeah, now they're gonna have to think of a new one. Yeah, so anyway, that's all I got.
All right. It's a good way for us to end it. We want to thank Maya Holmquist and Nia Wilson for coming by this week. For the Big Sound Matt Johnson, I am Jon Garver, and thank you for watching Eye of the Swarm.